Hello and welcome to Ginger Prime Gaming. My name is Brian, and in this guide we're going to be diving into the world of Phantasy Star Online 2, otherwise known as PSO2. If you're thinking about checking out this game, I highly encourage you to do so, but like with most online RPGs, the question about which race and class you should play is a critical one. So it's with this guide that I hope to give you an overview of each class and their weapons so that you can have a great play experience right from the start. Now before we begin, we're also going to be posting advanced class guides that go into depth for each class and their skill trees in the future. So if you find this guide helpful, I hope that you hit that subscribe button and you share this video out with others so that they can join you on your adventures in the world of Phantasy Star Online. So the structure of this video is we're going to focus on picking your race, understanding the differences between your main class and your subclass and how that obviously impacts play, and finally the different classes and the weapons they use. I'll try to include timestamps in a comment or the description below this video if you're really looking forward to jumping into one specific spot. Also, before we begin, I'd like to highlight one amazing creator, Aslar, who really knows so much about this game, and he invited me on his podcast and we had a really great conversation, and he's really answered a ton of my questions. I'll include a link to his channel in the description below because not only is he an awesome guy, he really knows his stuff. So with the intro out of the way, I hope that you check out his channel, and let's go ahead and dive into picking your race and your class. In Phantasy Star Online 2, race and your gender actually have an impact on your character. There are 4 races in the game: human, Newman, caste, and Dooman. Humans have good HP and either good striking attack and striking defense or technique attack and technique defense, depending on the gender that you choose. They particularly have no low stats, but they're generally geared towards the hunter and the fighter class. Newmans, on the other hand, have good technique attack and either good R defense or T defense, depending on the gender, but low HP and dexterity. They're going to be geared towards your force and techer classes. Now castes, they have good HP, striking attack, ranged attack, and dexterity, and either good striking defense or ranged defense, depending on your gender. But they do have low technique attack and technique defense. They're going to be geared towards your ranger and your gunner classes. Now, Doomans have good striking attack, ranged attack, and T attack, but they have low HP. So these are going to be geared more to the braver and to the bouncer classes accordingly. In Phantasy Star Online 2, you can play all the classes in the game on a single character, but to start, you only have access to 6: Hunter, Braver, Bouncer, Ranger, Force, and Summoner. But as soon as you log into the ship, you can actually talk to B here, and you can change your class to any of the other classes, even if they weren't listed at the start. Around level 10, you're going to unlock a subclass quest, which will allow you to then equip a subclass to your main class. What is that going to do for you? Well, let's go ahead and break it down. Your main class is going to be obviously what determines your ability set primarily. You're going to get 100% of the stats and the class level. Your main class gets 100% of all earned EXP. All native weapons, photon arts, and techniques, if applicable, are going to be inherently usable. And obviously you'll get access to all of your cleared skills on a class skill tree. Now for your subclass, you're going to get 20% of that class's given stats, excluding your PP, which is going to be your magic, your mana, if you think about it that way. Class stats are actually given to scale to either your main class or your subclass for whichever is lower. So there's only a benefit here to having a subclass. Subclasses also earn 25% of XP that is earned just by playing the game, so you're actually going to still be leveling up your subclass even while you're leveling up your main class. Subclasses will have access to all native photon arts and techniques that are inherently usable, and access to a skill tree that pretty much uses all skills except for any skill marked with main class only on it. Now we'll be sure to go over class skill trees in more depth in individual guides like I said at the start of this video, but I want to show you kind of what that looks like right here. You're going to get skill points, you're going to unlock things, and you're going to have a good time with it. You do have the ability to set the tree manually or actually set recommended, so that way it unlocks various skills for you just automatically. So if you're really not sure about what to do, feel free to go ahead and do something like I just did so that you can kind of have hopefully the best play experience when starting out. And then later, and we've talked about this in my other guide, when getting started with this game, be sure to go check that out about what to do with multiple skill trees and more. So let's go ahead and continue. So a few notes for beginners before class selection. I'm just going to say PP, you heard me mention that before, that's your mana, that's your magic. It allows you to use techniques and photon arts. Those are the various skills or magic in the game. So PP, think MP, it's just what it's called. Now, if you're brand new to these kind of games, AoE means area effect. It means you're going to hit one enemy or multiple party members at the same time. It just represents an area that's going to get impacted. And then finally, burst damage. This is where you do big hits in a short amount of time. Great for burning things down, especially if you're on the clock. Alright, so what class are you going to play? I'd love to know what you decide in the comments below, again, because you can check these all out. But let's go ahead and dive in. First, we have the Hunter. The Hunter has 3 weapon types they can equip. So the Greatsword, or aka the Sword, is a jack-of-all-trades weapon. This possesses a lot of utility and it's useful in almost any situation and has a lot of variety to it. Packs a big punch and it looks cool no matter what you're doing. Wired lances are actually capable of striking targets far and wide, and at the cost of some raw damage though. Wired lances also excel in grappling targets and manipulating their positions and using them to strike other foes around them. It's really cool. Partisans though are obviously not as strong as the sword, but they do make it up in speed. So is this class for you? Well, it's great for damage and it's great for defense. There's really not a role of tank in this game, but this Hunter does have the ability to do taunts. So overall for the Hunter, it's going to be slower in terms of melee, but it's going to have bigger hits, and it's going to also be very combo focused. It does have better survivability than most, and even, like I said, some taunts. So this is going to be a great class for new players and starters alike. This would be, if you really like melee, this is going to be the class that you probably should check out first before you experiment with the other classes. It also makes for an excellent subclass to other melee classes, and maybe even ranged classes as well, due to its defensive boosts. Some race options for you here would be human, or maybe even cast. Okay, so next up we have Fighter. Fighter is a lot of fun to play. They are the glass cannon of the melee department, so note that you're going to have some risk versus reward with this class specifically. They're going to rock 3 weapons. The twin daggers, this is going to be short range daggers that excel both at aerial combat and single target combat. They're going to be capable of a really extremely fast attacks that do multiple hits and multiple photon arts that are going to allow you to move in all directions, horizontal and vertical. Then you have the double saber. This is going to be a pair of short range blades that are capable of dishing out multiple hits in one single combo. Now, double saber, photon arts generally have multiple hits, but they're slower than the twin daggers. But they're also capable of drawing enemies in nearby, allowing for more AoE attacks. And finally, you have your knuckles. These are going to possess a notoriously short range, but they're going to exceed even swords in power to compensate. Now, their photon arts can hit extremely hard if given the opportunity. This is a very powerful weapon engaging in one-on-one. Think boss rush mode. Think if you're going to be fighting a boss, you want a fighter and you want those knuckles to really bring the hurt. Like I said, they're strong single target DPS. They have high risk and reward. They have access to a limit break style skill, which is going to help you bring the hurt. They are weak in mobility and area of effect. So just keep that in mind if you're deciding to play a fighter. Is this class for you? It's got great damage. It's risky. It's a glass cannon. It sounds like a lot of fun, and it is a lot of fun. So if you like this kind of class, this might be the pick for you. Some race choices might be male, human, and cast. If you really want to bring more damage, the Dooman, but you're going to have more risk to it when pairing a Dooman with a fighter. You probably would want a sub-hunter just to get an additional defensive boost for this class as well. So our first ranged class happens just to be named Ranger. Now the Ranger's got 2 weapons that they're going to bring the hurt with. The assault rifle, this is going to possess a high rate of attack as well as extreme precision. And using photon arts, you're going to be able to augment your abilities, enabling it to adapt to many battlefield situations. Now, assault rifles can also be further strengthened with the use of bullet skills, which are going to allow you to load in quote-unquote special magazines that are going to give your attacks special properties. The Ranger also uses the launcher. This is going to be great for AoE. It's a rocket launcher, and just note that it's slow, but it's deadly. Its attack speed sucks, but it compensates with extremely high raw damage and a lot of blast radius that's going to allow you to hit multiple enemies in a single area simultaneously. This is going to make it an excellent tool for taking down large groups of enemies, by the way. So just play around with your assault rifle and your launcher, give or take. The Ranger overall is considered a long-range support class, so that sounds up your alley. This might be for you. There is a really cool skill that you have called Weak Bullet. This is going to allow you to tag enemies, giving them a damage multiplier by basically creating a quote-unquote weak spot. So there are some things about the Ranger. You can manually aim, and there's going to be situations where you're going to have to manually aim with a ranger to take full advantage of this job. If that doesn't sound like fun, maybe you want to hold off on picking a ranger, but if you really like that opportunity from going from a third-person action game to a third-person shooter, there you go. The ranger's going to be for you. Some race selections for you would be cast. That's kind of what they're geared for, but obviously, like we said with everything, you can play any race on any job. Next up, we have Gunner. Gunner is going to use the assault rifles just like Ranger, but they also have a weapon called the twin machine guns. The twin machine guns are extremely versatile. However, they're not technically considered like ranged weapons like the Ranger has with the assault rifle. They'll be more mid to close range attack weapons. The twin machine guns actually come with a weapon action called Stylish Roll. This is really sweet. By pressing your weapon action button, it's going to cause you to flip in a direction of your choice, backwards or sideways. Now, you're going to be able to do and augment that so you can flip forward with a skill ring later in the game if you're interested in. Stylish Roll also has a healthy amount of invulnerability tacked onto it, and if you do it for 3 times in a row, you're going to get a slow motion, which is the longest moment of invulnerability in the game, and it looks super cool. So you're able to put out damage, and you're able to survive by doing your Stylish Roll. Honestly, if you're asking me, I highly recommend that you give Gunner a try. If not your first class, if not starting out, you should owe it to yourself to check this class out and see if it really works for you. The Gunner has a special system called Chain Trigger. This is going to allow you to chain attacks using your twin machine guns before executing a chain break for massive amounts of burst damage. And the cool thing is that all members of the party can actually build up the chain count. So party makeup really needs to actually be considered when playing this class. Also, I'd recommend pairing this with a cast primarily. If you're new to the channel, allow me to introduce myself. I am Brian. I love Force. I love casters. That is typically what I love to play in online RPGs. The Force is the magic wielder of Phantasy Star Online, and you have a couple weapons at your disposal. The first weapon, pretty natural, a rod. This is going to have much higher T attack than any of the other tech weapon counterparts, and it has extremely high PP recovery.
Very nice edit. Big PP, not gonna lie.
But it's got really poor striking range, so it's not going to be your melee weapon to compensate. Now, techs with the rod actually make the caster the technique point of origin, where the other weapon, the Talus, is allowing you to cast magic remotely. You can throw these cards onto the ground, and that's where the focal point of magic will emanate from. This effectively allows you as the player to cast techniques from different positions without actually having to move to that position. However, the Talus has lower technical attacks because this is going to balance out the mobility issue for the range. Overall, Force has low mobility, but you do have access to all 6 elements of the game. Also, casting in this game is really fun. You can charge up your spells to do even more damage, but you're going to have to, just like everything else, unlock your spells by getting drops or finding various X cubes to purchase those for even more powerful magic. You can even do mix and match and compound magic as a Force, but we'll cover that more in depth later. If you really wanted to bring the hurt, Newmans and Doomans might really kind of be up your alley for a Force, but they're also going to be super squishy because the Force is super squishy and Doomans aren't noted to having the most HP, but they are the best when it comes to technical attacks. The other caster in Phantasy Star right here is the Techer. This is going to be blending both support and melee combat. The Techer has a wand, which is a special type of weapon that uses striking attack and technique attack. So you pretty much hit for striking and it does a little bit of extra of technical attack at the end of the attack. The Techer also has access to the Talus just like Force, so you can also cast magic remotely. So, support class. Obviously, you're going to be able to buff your party and any multi-party raids. Techer isn't just support. They are able to also deal a lot of damage, so don't feel like you're going to have to sacrifice bringing the damage, because you can also boost other damages too, as well as others' max HP. Techer really goes well with Force, so even if you're not interested in maining Techer, it's a really good option to have this as your subclass because it allows for greater PP recovery than any other class for the Force. So next we have Braver. This is going to be a hybrid melee and ranged class. The Braver uses a katana. This is going to be focusing on your striking attack. This is for fast mobile attacks, as well as just guards are going to be used to enhance your attacks. That's blocking at a specific right time. This is going to be your short range. They're going to have a photon art for pretty much every situation, and honestly they look really cool when playing, and also even if you have one in your party, it's always really cool to see a Braver out there and about. The bullet bow complements the Braver and its katana's close range potential with having that long range coverage. Contrary to the katana, the bullet bow's attacks are generally not as extravagant They're pretty much just shooting arrows and they blow up, so it's pretty cool. It's important to note the bullet bow's accuracy is actually depending on stability. So standing still is going to increase your accuracy, but if you're moving around while shooting, it's going to result in a few missed shots. So regarding Braver versus Hunter, Braver actually has good survivability and can parry attacks. So there's going to be a little bit of skill there in order to increase your survivability. Maybe also pairing it with Hunter would help just increase your overall survivability. But the Braver is really solid regarding whatever the situation is, and just honestly, they're just a ton of fun to play. Now the Bouncer is really interesting. You get to use dual blades, again that striking attack, high single target DPS, we've seen these already before on another class, and you have your jet boots. This is going to be your technique attack. So Bouncer is going to balance between your striking attack and your technique attack. Jet boots can actually do both AoE and single target. They do work to exploit the elemental weaknesses of your enemies, and you'll see that when you're targeting your enemy, it'll show what they're weak to in the corner. These boots are also going to allow you to do a lot of aerial and gives you a double jump, so you can actually do a lot of juggling in the air, and you can charge your boots to have a certain elemental affinity as well. It is really interesting, a lot of fun to play. As a new player, when I went to go play Bouncer, it was a little intimidating, so I'd highly recommend that you check out the training guide for this in-game specifically. And the same thing applies to our next class, Summoner. Both the Bouncer and the Summoner just feel a little bit different, and once you get a feel for them, they are a ton of fun to play. The Summoner obviously uses pets. But first, to use pets in the game, you have to equip a Toctus. I'm probably mispronouncing that, and I do apologize. And you also have to find eggs. Eggs are going to allow you to learn pets and summon those pets, and then you're going to be able to give those pets commands, and it's such a unique class altogether. So anyway, overall, your main weapon is pretty useless in the game. It's really all about your pet. You're going to only be able to inflict a pitifully weak striking attack in point blank range that actually will restore no PP, so it's no reason to run in. So pets are actually bound to you and are summoned, and that's going to be your primary way you play this job. So as a summoner, as you collect pets, you're going to find pets that are really good at different situations, whether it's short ranged, AoE, DPS, just burst damage, long range. Summoner is also one that I was kind of intimidated. I do like pet classes in other games, but I really was like, how do I get this done? Once you start getting your pets and you start playing around with them, you're going to feel very comfortable. And that's why I also recommend checking out the training, which is the footage that you're seeing here in this video, just so that you can get a better feel for this class before you start leveling it out in the world. Now, while that's all your starter classes that you have access to, once you level up enough in the game, you're going to unlock 3 of the advanced classes that you have access to: the Hero, the Phantom, and the Étoile. Now, I don't know if Hero, Phantom, and Étoile are going to be available in North America on day 1, so I don't know when you're watching this video, but I'm going to give you just a brief overview of these 3 classes. The Hero has access to the Greatswords, Twin Machine Guns, and the Talus, which makes it very unique. The Hero is high skill, high reward, and high risk, all baked in together. And again, you have that Greatsword, Twin Machine Guns, and the Talus. The Phantom is kind of like your advanced caster. It's going to have a katana, a rifle, and a rod. So this is very unique when it comes to gameplay styles, with obviously the 3 different weapons. Katana being your combo and your close range. Obviously rifle being your precision, range, and your rod allowing you to do magic. And Étoile allows you to use double saber, wand, and dual blades. Again, I don't know if we're going to be launching with Étoile in the game itself, but it's going to be something that's really interesting to check and play together. So it's with that we conclude this epic guide. I hope some of this information has been helpful. Let me know in the comments below what you decide to start as and what you're enjoying in the game. If you have any questions about the game, please feel free to ask in the comments below and I'll try to answer them, or if necessary, we can do another video answering your questions altogether. My name is Brian and this is Ginger Prime. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button. If you want to and you feel like I've earned your subscription, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join the Soul Nation here on this channel. I thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this video, and hopefully it's been a help, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. But until then, take care.